Alright, so welcome back to the People's Mirror. In this particular episode, we want to put a look at what is happening at the mountain. First part is the Nyeri part, where Governor Mutahi Kahiga has now been making it a very good trend of speaking or actually running his rallies in Kikuyu language. I love that for the governor of Nyeri because he's now speaking directly to the people in the language that the people understands. But the question that most Kenyans are asking is that could it have been that Governor Mutahi Kahiga was seen with President William Ruto during the time that President William Ruto's Nyota was in the Nyeri part, but that did not in any way mean that Governor Mutahi Kahiga is in the Ruto two terms ideology. Now this will be made clear in a matter of time because from Governor Mutahi Kahiga's side it's hard to know. It's very close ally of Honorable Rigathi Gachagua that has defended Rigathi Gachagua in the past, but other than that, if you saw how he was reacting during the Ruto visit to Nyeri, then it also showed a potency of moving towards the two-term side. But that story aside, let us look at other more stories from the mountain, where now President William Ruto is spending a very good time in Meru County, having conversations with the residents and of course taking Nyota closer to the people, saying that it's not a political ideology, but is doing this very purely for purposes of business and promoting the youth. The 50,000 is actually not a loan. It's a grant that's supposed to open up doors and opportunities for the youth on how they're supposed to spend that particular resources into business. Away from that, the Jubilee Party has also announced, I think that's the first story we're going to start with, where the Jubilee Party now has announced certain party changes in their headquarters. The Jubilee Party is saying that that is the Secretary General Honorable Jeremiah Kioni that is actually excited, taking a look at how the Jubilee Party is handling the story right now. And even the possibility of them sitting together to make this particular announcement would have not been the same case if he looked back in last year, that is in 2025, when the party had wrangles. So he has thanked the president, former President Uhuru Kenyatta. He has thanked the media for standing with them in that particular fight that now he says he has conquered. Now, without further ado, let us listen to what is coming out of the Jubilee Party and what was the announcements about that Honorable Jeremiah Kioni and of course the Jubilee Party Deputy Party Leader Honorable Okengo Matiang'i attended earlier today.
I think less than a year ago, we were here and it was really difficult to even have NEC members here. We were operating literally without a NEC because of the issues that we have discussed with the members of the press. So it is, for me, it's a very joyful moment today that we have the entire team and we are now in a position where we can reorganize ourselves so that we can be a viable alternative to the government of the day. Why we were fighting in court is because, or why I was in court throughout is because I always believed in Jubilee, I believed in what the track record, and I believed that it had it can attract people who can be able to offer alternatives to this country. We are now here today, ready for elections, even with a presidential candidate who is ranking way ahead of the others. So there cannot be a happier person, a more happier person than myself. And I want to say that kazi ndio mingi hapa mbele. I want to thank a few people. One, I want to thank our party leader, former head of state, Uhuru Kenyatta, because that battle that he went through up to where we are would not have been possible without him studying with me. I want to thank Nyinyi, watu ya media. You are with us here throughout. Other than just listening to what I was going to say, you are also a source of encouragement. And I really want to thank you because there is no one single time you came and harassed me. Even when we would get late in the offices trying to think of what to do with the issues that are before us, you've been patient with me and with us. I really want to thank you. The late rider, Amoro Odinga. I have had people eulogize him. I've had people talk about their experiences with him. Sometimes I listen to them and wonder whether they understood the man they were talking about. I had first-hand experience with him. At the height of all the confusion that we had, Raila Amolo Odinga, who is not a Jubilee member, came to the Jubilee office and sat on my chair to encourage me to continue with the fight. And he also helped me to deal the goons that have been sent to us by those who are fighting us, and those who are still fighting us who are members of Jubilee. So I really want to thank the late Raila Amolo Odinga, and I wish ODM well. I know what they are going through, and it is not a good thing for this country, for a party the size of ODM to be in the state that they are in, because we need them as we soldier on.
Now that is coming from the Secretary General of the Jubilee Party, Honorable Jeremiah Kioni. Well articulated, and in every phase of it, there is a political statement and a political in-depth to it. First, of course, he says that there's a lot of work in front of them, and that counts because between now and 2027, decisions of who will become the president are the accelerating talks in the Kenyan political scene. And you see, he's saying that they are offering themselves as an alternative to the government of the day. So between now and 2027 August, that should be the second Tuesday of August, in 2027, when Kenyans will go to the ballot to make that particular decision, the Jubilee Party needs to stand at a very strong position compared to the ruling party. Or even if they decide to go as a coalition, then the united opposition need to be strong compared to the ruling party, and that is the part where there are a lot of work needs to come in. But away from that, let's go to the people he's thanking. First, it starts with Uhuru Kenyatta, of course, and of course the fight that Jeremiah Kioni was going on with the party, of course, was supported, or his party position was reinstated by the influence of Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta. And so he says that the fourth president of Kenya is worthy of thanks to him because of where the Jubilee Party sits right now. And then the media, of course, for not antagonizing him, and then Raila Amolo Odinga. Now, I feel like introducing Raila Amolo Odinga to his thanks list as a result of touching on ODM is also very systematic to the statements that were made yesterday by Junet Mohamed on screen, of course, accusing President Uhuru Kenyatta and the cohort of the President Uhuru Kenyatta team for actually not releasing the 500 million that was allegedly released, which has been the subject of contest and political debate in Kenya for quite some time. But first, Jeremiah Kioni says that he first wants to thank Raila, who went into his house, sat with him, and encouraged him to actually steer on at a time when he felt no need to, and even helped him neutralize the goons during that time. You remember this time where the supporters of Raila Amolo Odinga, who are termed as goons, were being identified with the Jubilee Party. That is the part, I think, where Jeremiah Kioni is referring to, when the goons of the ODM, if they were the people that Jeremiah is referring to, went and helped him as a result of the visit that he says Raila went to his house and sat on his chair. So he feels like the way people are eulogizing Raila right now is not the right way. And so he says that he wishes the ODM well because he knows where they are right now. Of course, as a party Secretary General, he would understand because he was in the same, almost a similar conflict about a year ago, almost the same conflict that Sifuna is undergoing within the party structures right now. But saying that he understands what the party is going through in the absence of Raila Amolo Odinga also could be hinting to this particular conversation that is going on, that is partially blaming the Jubilee party leader, Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, for having been the individual that sabotaged the 2027 Azimio win, while another cohort is blaming Junet Mohamed to have been the very individual that sabotaged that particular election. Now Ole Kenta has been given them mshukani kukuwa katibu mkuu wa chama Jubilee moving forward, which was the substance of this particular announcement where these statements were being made, and that is the direction that they are taking moving forward. Now, away from the Jubilee Party and into another very interesting story, but within the mountain scope, is where President William Ruto is at. Where is President William Ruto? President William Ruto is somewhere in Meru, taking Nyota program closer to the youths, saying that the 50,000 grant is of course not a loan, but money that is being given to them as grant. But before we talk about the grant, of course, he started by first firing his missiles to the united opposition camp that he says lacks strategy, lacks mindset, and in a response that's of course being answered by the crowd, they say lacks the brains and of course lacks the Nyota. Let's start with that before we talk about the impact that the ruling party is trying to make towards the youth by this particular grant that has been opened to the youth in the recent past.
Hawana sera, hawana plan, hawana hata akili. Sasa mimi nakuuliza wewe, mtu wa hapa tukiwa hata nyota hawana ati nyota asalala. Hey, kumbe mnawajua wale majamaa. Ati sasa kazi yao ni ukabila, chuki, fitina, vitimbi. Anyway, tunaelewana. Leo si siku ya siasa. Kuna siku tutakuja kuongea mambo ya siasa.
That is what the president said. That is what the president said, that leo si siku ya siasa, tutakuja tuongee siku ya siasa. So I want to play a news bite of what did the president say shortly after making that statement, and the decision will be yours because today was not a political day.
Kufanya nini? Biashara. Tunaelewana? So mimi nataka niwaeleze, we have a concrete, demonstrable, practical plan to take Kenya to the first world country. Wale wanapinga tu hapa, wanapinga housing, wanapinga SHA, wanapinga securitization, wanapinga privatization, wanapinga kila kitu. Na shida yao kubwa, wanajua ya kwamba we are going to succeed. And I want to tell them, when we succeed, Kenya succeeds. Tunaelewana? We are going to succeed, all of us. Wacheni zenu. Mmekuwa na nafasi yenu, mtupatie nafasi, tupange mambo ya Kenya. We are going to change this country and change it for good. Vijana hoye! Vijana hoye! Munasema tuendelee ama tuendelee bwana? Tusonge mbele, tusisonge mbele? Mimi nafurahi sana, niko na muungwana hapa anaitwa Profesa Kithure Kindiki. Huyu jamaa, si ndio? Deputy yako na mtaratara yako na mpango. Anaelewa mambo. Anaelewa barabara inajengwa vipi, anaelewa stima inaunganishwa vipi, anaelewa mambo ya nyota. Sitaki kusema kulikuwa na programu huko nyuma. Hii mnanielewa? Unajua saa zingine, wacha niwapatie siri. Saa zingine unachagua mtu wa kukusaidia mwenye amesoma kukuliko. Alafu akifanya mambo mazuri, wewe unapigiwa makofi. Si ndio? Sijasema kitu.
That's President Ruto for you, coming from Kinoru Stadium somewhere in Meru County. After saying that he was just there for business and not politics, he spent quite a lot of time politicking, talking about the other camp and them not having believed in the current government and actually promising that this government will deliver. That was okay. But then there's also an interesting bit of it, the political touch, where he introduces Kindiki to the speech. He says that he's actually happy that he has Honorable Kindiki by himself, of course, helping him. Now, you see, these statements are being made almost in the backyard of Kindiki, and they're being made in a time where decisions on the ascension of power or who Ruto is going to choose as the running mate is also a very constant talk between now and then. And so for most people have said that this could have been the finish line for Honorable Kindiki. After this year comes to an end, 2026, Kindiki is gone. Maybe people have also said that there is a likelihood that President William Ruto, if he's looking from the mountain area, could now look from the Mount Kenya West to neutralize the influence of Rigathi Gachagua and use the party chairperson position that Cecilia Mbariri holds from Mount Kenya East to consolidate that base alongside the Cabinet Secretary Honorable Ruto to consolidate that particular support for his backyard in 2027. So in that particular equation, Kindiki does not see it very comfortably. Others have said that part of this particular conversation that is going on between President William Ruto and the ODM party is to have the deputy position taken to the ODM party. Now you've seen the fragmentation issues within the party, other issues that even Honorable Kioni has just commented on in a newsbite that we've watched within this particular episode. People are looking at the ODM party as something in a very critical state. You'd compare it to an ICU state on a medical condition. And so, whereas they are demanding the deputy party position, they have not put put their house in order. And so President William Ruto would actually be picking from the losing end if he was to go within the division rather of the ODM party and pick a candidate from there. Now there is this approach, the current CSS of President William Ruto, where Oparanya sits and Joho sits, if they were all to deflate and walk away from their individual party, which is the ODM party, and form individual parties from their own backyard, would they have enough negotiating power to come to the table in 2027 for the second position? Never forget, there is Wetangula and Mudavadi still in the math, and each of them are now having a rift because Wetangula, as quoted earlier today, saying there is no competition between Wetangula and Mudavadi, the people will decide. But one thing, they are all supporting President William Ruto's second bid. And so if they are talking about Luhya unity and Oparanya is not in the question, then who will it be? Will it be Mudavadi, who has been very close, or will it be Wetangula, who has also been very close? And then there is talk of Aden Duale, and now using the Muslim aspect and the northeastern part to consolidate votes in 2027. What we are essentially saying from the People's Mirror with that analysis is this: President William Ruto has so many options on who to pick come 2027, and so mentioning Kindiki in this particular platform means something for Kindiki if the president feels like he is comfortable with Kindiki steering his wheel ahead. Other than that, he has also commented on the one of the 48 laws of power, saying that of course let people do the work and take the credit. And according to President William Ruto, now he feels that the person who needs to do the work needs to be smarter than you. Away from that, let's take a look at the NADCO report, which is supposed to be fulfilled. Now, this is the backyard of the agreement between the UD and the ODM party, and people have attacked this particular report, saying that this report itself is what has the likelihood of turning this particular arrangement into a coalition. But without this report showing that the 10-point agenda were met, this is going to be the end of the UDA and the ODM party. So earlier on today, Agnes Zani has been making a speech about the status of this report, and quickly, ladies and gentlemen, let us just listen into what Miss Agnes Zani has been saying partially about the report.
Acquainting us with the useful content that will form part of our final report to be presented to the two principals, His Excellency the President Dr. William Ruto and the new party leader of ODM party, Senator Dr. Oburu Oginga, at the end of our term in office, and specifically on the 7th of March, when we are meant to give the report. In the evening of last year, we had a retreat at a hotel in Machakos County, which was facilitated by our partner, the Center for Multi-Party Democracy, CMD, in early December. This retreat gave us time to reflect on our task and what is needed for us, considering the whole country is awaiting the outcome of our engagements. Rightly so, I think, because this engagement will allow us to give an overarching information to the whole of the nation about where we are in a process that we are all engaged in. That is the NADCO report itself and the 10-point agenda, in addressing the implementing position, the challenges that might come across, where we are, addressing how best can we move forward, so that at the end of the day, the NADCO report and the 10-point agenda is not just a statement that has been put out there, but it's a reality that we can continue going to look back at and assess where we are and keep improving ourselves as the nation seeks to attain what is in the NADCO report of November 2023 and the 10-point agenda. Since then, we have had meetings with government ministries, state departments, government agencies, constitutional commissions, human rights bodies, and civil society organizations. These include a meeting with the CS for National Treasury, Honorable John Badi, a meeting with the head of public service,
So that's what's going on from the NADCO report. Actually, they're just talking about what will happen ahead of 7th of March, which is where most Kenyans are putting their focus on. 7th of March will mark the end of the period that this particular report needed to have been made finally. Now, Raila Amolo Odinga, who was part of this agreement, might not be there to see it, but Kenyans are still waiting because this is the backbone of the agreement between the ODM and the UDA party. And so people have not forgotten about it. And Agnes Zani, who also deputizes Honorable Sifuna within the ODM party as the Deputy Secretary General of the ODM party, is now the chairperson of this particular arrangement and is promising Kenyans that come 7th, of course, of March 2026, when they will be concluding on the NADCO report, then all this 10-point agenda will have been met. Later on within her speech, she's talking about going to the grassroots and ensuring that everyone is involved in the discussion of the 10-point agenda conclusively. So this thing is still going on. Let us know in the comment section, ladies and gentlemen, what you think of the appointment of Ole Kenta by the Jubilee party, what you think of President William Ruto's Nyota that now gives youths 50,000 in grant, a very good thing, an opportunity to start their own businesses in the local areas, and has been in that tour from Uasin Gishu, Eldoret to Nakuru to Nyeri, now is in Meru after Machakos, and is trying to do all these counties. Let us also know what you think about the NADCO report and the position of Agnes Zani right now, that they are saying that the NADCO report is being prepared to be ready for the final report of the 7th March 2026. It's been a pleasure doing that here at the People's Mirror. Until our next episode.